Thank you for that nice introduction. Hello, brothers. So my path in fraternity was a little bit unusual because I started out at the University of Minnesota, and after 2 quarters, I decided it was too cold up there, and I went back to the fraternity house after one cold afternoon on campus, 20 below zero. I got out the map, took my finger, and took as far south as it would go, ended up in Miami. I said, that sounds like good. So, long story short, I transferred to Miami. When I told the president of the Minneapolis fraternity, I'm going to Miami, he said, we have a house there. He said, let me call the president in Miami and set you up. So he did that. They said, send him down, we'll take good care of him. So the point is, when you belong to a national fraternity, you've got friends and brothers all over the country. You know, loaded up my 58 Corvette and drove to Miami, and boom, I had a place to stay, and I had a lot of friends, and it was great. So in this book that I wrote called Dylan and Me 50 Years of Adventures, there's a lot of stories about Bob and I together. But there's an interesting story there that I really enjoy. It happened at the FIAP house in Minnesota. FIAP had a really nice house right across the street from the football stadium. So one day, I was arm wrestling the whole fraternity. Back in the day, I was a championship arm wrestler. And so I sat at this table, and the whole fraternity lined up, and boom, boom, boom. You know, nobody lasted more than seconds. So I had a close friend, a fraternity brother named Paul Goldstein, great guy. Unfortunately, a blessed memory now. And he was watching this, and he's thinking, I can't let this go like this. He walked across the street to the football stadium where the guys were practicing. He was very close friends with Carl Eller, who was an All-American tight end for the Golden Gophers, later All-Pro for the Minnesota Vikings, and a Hall of Famer. Carl's nickname was Moose. He was like this, and all muscle. So he went over there, he found Carl, they were good friends. He said, Carl, this is what's going on at the fraternity house. I need you to do me a favor and come over there and destroy this guy. So Carl said to him, well, I beat everybody on the Gopher football team in arm wrestling. This should be a piece of cake. So I'm doing my thing here, and at some point I looked up and to see how many more victims I had, and there was 8, 9 guys in the line, but at the end of the line behind everybody was standing Moose with his arms like this, staring at me, no smiles, just staring like I'm going to kill you, brother, you know. and I got the message, you know, and he was a big man on campus. Everybody knew Moose. So he comes to the front of the line, sits down, puts his arm on the table. Well, it was more like a club. I've never seen an arm like that. It was unbelievable. So when we locked hands, my elbow was this far off the table. So I called to some of the brothers to get me some phone books. And they did, and that's the only way I was able to get some footing. And so the scene was pretty surreal because everybody was very excited, you know, and they were betting on it. You know, and anybody that was betting on me got big odds. And they were screaming back and forth, guys yelling Moose, guys yelling Louie. You know, it was I wish we would have filmed that. It was really something to see. So we went at it, and what happened was, somewhat to my amazement, is he couldn't get me down. I couldn't get him down either, so we went back and forth like this for about 5 minutes. And 5 minutes is a long time in arm wrestling, an awful long time. Usually, you know, a minute or 2 is a long time. 5 minutes is like unheard of. So finally, Carl and I agreed that we called a tie, to the amazement of everybody there. So after that, whenever I would see Carl, Moose, on campus, he'd come over to me, shake my hand, and say, "You're one tough Jew boy." Which is a big compliment coming from the Moose, let me tell you. So that happened at the Clam House. It's one of my fond memories. 5 later merged into ZBT. So once I graduated college and went back into my family fish business on the Great Lakes, and I expanded it up to Alaska, and we had great success up there. And then eventually I opened an imitation crab plant in Duluth, and I was one of the first people to bring surimi imitation crab to the United States, and I was the first person to make it kosher. So, there was a lot of accomplishments that I had there, and then I produced Bob's Rolling Thunder Review Tour and other things in that field. But I gotta tell you, all that stuff is goonish from goonish. That's Yiddish for not that important. What's important to me, what has become important to me, is my involvement in the Jewish community. When I bought a house in Pacific Palisades, a large house, I made a deal with God. There was other people bidding for this house. It was very desirable. It was overlooking Santa Monica Bay. I said, "God, if you let me get this house," I had the money, but it was a bidding war. I said, "Let me get this house. I'll open it up to the whole Jewish community, and I'll share it." I said, I don't need 7,600 square feet. So I said, I'm going to open it up to the whole community. So we struck that deal, and I got the house. And I turned my house into the Chabad house in Pacific Palisades. And we had every sort of thing going on there. We had bar mitzvahs, we had weddings, we had upshirtishes, we Torah classes, Passovers. We had singles parties for 500 people, and many people got married through those occasions. Just short sidebars. After being in that house for about a year, there was a knock on the door. The old man standing there. He said, "Mr. Kemp?" I said, "Yes." He said, I'm so-and-so, I represent your neighbors. They sent me here to make you an offer for your house. They want to give you $1 million more than you paid for it. I said, $1 million? It hasn't gone up $1 million in 1 year. They said, "We know that. They want it to be a generous offer so that you'll take it." I said, "Well, why do they want the house?" They said, "Because before you moved in, this was a quiet neighborhood." I said, "They don't have to worry about anybody coming to this house. And it may not be quiet, but it's safe." So I did not sell. And then, as he mentioned, I had the good fortune also to be the first sponsor or funder of Aish HaTorah's Discovery Program. And I highly recommend to you leaders at the different ZBTs that you contact Aish HaTorah. They have a program where they use computers to unlock the hidden codes in the Torah. And it shows every single person that ever born is in the Torah. You have to know they unlock it with computers through these codes. Also, the whole history of the world is there. It's quite amazing. So, thank God I was able to pull the trigger on that. And when I asked the rabbi many years later, Rabbi Noah Weinberg, the founder of Aish, I said, "Why did you have to come to Duluth, Minnesota in the winter, to get money for this program? You never thought that, we have all these sponsors, they would have done." He said, "Let me tell you really what happened." He said, "We have big funders in New York and all over who have funded the growth of Aish, but I went to every one of them and they all turned me down." He said, "The reason they turned me down is because they basically all said, 'Come back after you've got results. How do we know this is going to work? You talk about it so, like it's going to be the second coming of something or other, but we want to see a track record.'" So after the last guy turned me down, I said to my assistant, "Do you know anybody in the whole country who would, invest in something on the come without a track record?" He said, "Well, there's this guy in Duluth who has a business in Alaska, a seafood business, who seems like kind of a wild guy. He might do it." So he came to see me. Long story short, I did it. And you got to be willing to take chances. You got to have the ability and inclination to look around the corner and willing to invest in the future, even though, you know, it's on the come. So my advice to all of you is that, yes, we all want to go out there and be successful in whatever chosen profession we choose, and to make money and accumulate things and all that good stuff. And I did all that, and it was a good feeling. But at some point, I had an empty feeling in me. I said, this can't be all that I was sent here to do. You know, make a bunch of money and score a bunch of girls, you know, like that. And that was a movement back then, you know. Probably still is now. You know? But I fell for it, you know. So I searched and I met a Chabad rabbi who I highly recommend you guys check out. His name is Rabbi Manas Friedman, a world-class Torah scholar. He would speak at the fraternities, I'm sure, if you contact him. And anyway, when I first met him, the best way to describe that meeting was I had good questions. He had great answers. You know, blew me away with his answers. You know, things I'd never heard before. So I studied with him for 3 weeks, and I became observant, and it changed my life. So all I would say about that is, you want to balance your life. You want to not only feed your body, feed your soul too. So that's my blessing to all of you. And I have a saying I try to be a bottom line saying about my life that I make decisions based on. You can't take it with you, but you can send it ahead. Keep that in mind when you're making decisions about your life. Because when you go in that box, you're going to be by yourself. I don't know if you got a million, a billion, a zillion. ZBT, zillions, billions, and trillions. That's what they used to say about ZBT when I was in you're not taking any of it with you. The only thing you're going to have to, so to speak, live off in the world to come is the mitzvahs that you did, the good deeds that you did, that you sent ahead. God bless you.